Hi there, Callum Newman here from the Daily Reckoning with another video update. One thing I've been watching lately is what's called the yield curve, and the Financial Times had a story about this recently, saying that the yield curve was going flat. Basically what it's saying is the difference between short-term interest rates and long-term interest rates on US Treasuries is quite narrow at the moment. Oftentimes it can be quite far apart. That's called a steeply sloped yield curve. When it flattens, that difference narrows. This is very important for the banking system over there. After the 2008 crisis, one of the things that the Fed deliberately engineered was the banks could borrow from the Fed at very, very low cost and then buy long-term US Treasury bonds, paying a higher rate of interest. So they're borrowing money cheaply from the Fed and buying government bonds that pay a higher rate of interest. That allows the banks to make money off the difference. And they basically make that money for doing nothing. It's part of how the Fed rigs the game in favour of the banks, but they get can get the capital gain off the bonds themselves and the income gains from borrowing low and buying those yielding bonds. Anyway, as this yield curve flattens, that trade becomes less profitable for the banks. So the potential there with the Fed lifting rates is for banks to seek out riskier borrowers, so private borrowers rather than the US government, perhaps with mortgages or business loans that can earn them higher interest rates on those loans. So a lot of people at the moment are watching this yield curve as a sign of recession, because when the yield curve inverts, it is said, or it has a history of predicting recessions. But to my mind, it could signal that banks are going to increase their lending into the US economy. That could be bullish or positive for US growth, as more loans puts more spending power into the US economy. So something to watch. The yield curve, very important, whether it stays flat or steepens or inverts. Keep reading your Daily Reckoning Australia for updates on this, because it's one of the most widely watched metrics in the financial world, and there's good reason for it. Anyway, little update there for you today. I'll see you next time.